Good evening, citizens, and welcome to the Shattersong LARP Diaries. I'm your host, Chris, and today I'm joined once again by Matty, who is going to give us
Woo.
a little. I had eulogy in my head, but perhaps it's more like a life story or
Yeah,
a,
it's a
a
character interview. Like
yeah,
he has to be interviewed, not just chat.
a history, one could say.
Yeah, the biography.
Yeah.
Autobiography. Is it a biography or an autobiography if you're the player talking about the character?
Well, if you're not the character, then it's yeah, you're not them.
It's already getting tricky there, isn't it? Because how much is it you and how much isn't it?
Hmm.
Depends on the character, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean that is actually one of the questions, but we'll save that for later.
Ooh,
But
okay, okay.
hello, Matty. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi,
Long time.
Chris. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me again. I've been a long time fan of the podcast. I've always wanted to come on and talk about my
Oh
experiences.
my gosh, you're making me blush. Oh, I'm so glad to give you a platform to talk about your character. Uh,
Thanks, as I never ever get to talk about myself ever.
no, I thought it was time we changed that in these interview formats, where instead of giving us interesting analysis of an event, we got everyone else in the call to shut the fuck up, and you get center stage for the next, I don't know, however long this
I
ends
mean,
up
I
being.
joke. It is amazing how often that doesn't happen.
It is,
But
it is.
that's
It's
life, isn't it?
well, Sol and I are sat here with loaded Glocks, making sure that everyone gets a gets a turn to talk. But anyway, we
For
digress.
legal reasons, listeners, that is not true.
Yeah, that is a joke. I can confirm that Matty is not in danger. And Matty, I would like you to confirm that independently.
Well, I'm glad to have it confirmed because it's always good to know. You know for sure.
To clarify, listeners, Matty is also joking. There is no ambiguity about her safety when on the Shattersong
Involuntarily,
Lark
but the
Diaries.
more I say that, the less real it sounds.
Just blinking very, very rapidly.
Not that they know because it's a podcast.
Precisely.
Oh, listen out for the Morse code later in the episode.
Yeah, it's just like ever, someone turns up the volume really, really high, you can hear
If
the.
you play it backwards, you can hear me yelling for help.
You talk about a ritual and you make up a name for it, and in backwards talk, it's call the police, they have me.
Yeah.
The Jotun are here, help.
Oh God, the Jotun. Oh
Ugh.
God.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I'll add that question to the end. What do you think of the Jotun and the Druge? But
All right, good question.
yeah, I'll slide that
For the
in
end, yeah.
at, somewhere at random
Okay,
in the
like a
order
little
of battle.
surprise.
Jotun, Druge. What's the other cool one? Grendel.
Grundle.
I once met
Oh,
a
I Larkin never fought the Grundle.
no. To be fair, we haven't fought them in ages. That is a real
No, it's
L.
previous character that fought the Grundle,
Mm.
and then
Oh,
we had a treaty with them.
and that treaty is soon to end.
We'll see, eh? We'll see.
Yeah. But before we dive into the future, let's have a look at the past. And I mean the very beginning of Larkin's
Ooh,
past and how
good
your
segue.
character came into being.
Cool. Is that the question? How did my character come
So
into being?
are you still reeling from the segue?
It was good. I was impressed. Um, how did my character come into being? In a kind of weird way, actually. I had played my first character for 3 events, not that long, but enough to get into the swing of things, and then died. Um, ironically, in a very similar way to how I died this time, but no one particularly necessarily knows that yet, so I won't explain more.
Was
But
this Meredith, your old?
it's basically the name Meredith, but it's the old Welsh version, which is Meredith with 2
Ah,
D's instead of a th.
gotcha.
I could have just gone for like Mary as like an easy nickname or something, but I was new to LARP. That's how it works. That's making a cool character. But yeah, I died and then I came back as a non-com for an event. Do you remember? Very vaguely.
Yes, yeah, I do
I had a
actually, because this
wig on
was
and everything.
yeah, this is like the first few times we'd met because you came with the OG longest path lot, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, I did. Yeah.
you ran into not
Well, we were
Bale.
kind of part of. No, it wasn't Darren. I don't think, or it was Darren.
Ah,
Like the very last event of
it might
Darren.
have been Darren. Yeah, it might have been Darren's death.
Yeah, I think it was quite early on because my first event was E2 2018.
No, I had
It was the
Darren for a
one
couple of
after the
years.
Mudpocalypse.
Yeah, gosh, that was Darren. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then your
So I did
second
that
event
one,
was when we all
Black
got.
Plateau.
Yeah, so that was my first event. Pie face. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there we
So you
go.
must have died in that first event.
The second you showed up, I
Um,
died. I cannot think.
I've been a bad luck charm ever since. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So it was then. Then I did those 3 events because we went through Pieface and Cuthwin and El Bandito.
Mm.
But I came back briefly as a character called Taryn, and I was there for one event. And I was going to go into like doing lore and spring lore and magic and stuff, and I hated it. But I kind of needed it, I think, because it was been my first LARP death, and I was a little like gun shy after that. I was like, I don't really know. I had a little bit of like, ooh, I don't want to die again. Because it sucks. I mean, I'd only had 3 events and I hadn't done that much, but I was already starting to, even back then, get involved in the military game, actually. I was talking to, at the time, the then living Dan Brackensong, who was quartermaster back then, about shadowing him and stuff and getting involved in that. So that was already a bit of a blow to be like, oh, I've just lost a character. Like, it's really strange. Come up with a new one. But I didn't like it. I didn't like being non-com. I didn't like hanging out with my friends so much. I didn't like the area of the game. So I learned a lot from that one event, really. So I just retired the character immediately. Between E1 and E2, came up with Larkin. And actually, you named Larkin. Do you remember that?
Okay, this is shameful. I'm gonna have to make a shameful confession on a public broadcast, but
It's
so
probably not going to matter. You still named Larkin.
I did name Larkin as Larkin, but for
Yeah.
any of you out there who are Warhammer 40,000 nerds or Dan Abnett fans, I'm a big fan of Gaunt's Ghosts, and all of my LARP characters have been stolen from those books. And Larkin is
Ah,
the aged veteran sniper in that book. Very cool
nice.
character. Has a good old friend called Try Again Bragg. Bragg is killed relatively early in the series by an absolute
This
dickhole
is
called Elijah
very
Koo.
apt.
Yeah, and yeah,
So what I'm
Larkin
hearing is
never
your next
recovered.
character is coming back as Bragg.
I don't know. Bragg. I
A
feel
great
I've
name,
already,
actually.
yeah, I've already played a Bragg like character.
I
He's
see, I
basically
see.
heavy weapons guy. He's just big. He's very big.
Yeah.
Carried around a cannon, but
Well, if I'm proof, you don't have to play the character if you want to steal the name.
very true.
Since
Very
I'm
true.
not an aged sniper,
Yeah.
I must say. No, but you did come up. I mean, like, this has happened recently. I accidentally named Kit's new character. Funny enough, we were talking about character names and we were sort of just throwing words back and forwards. And I came up with one, and he came up with a bunch. And I came up with some. And he was like, "Oh, actually, I really like that one," and that's going to be his new character name. It's I don't know. It's kind of a nice thing, I guess. You're like, it's a little moment of like, oh, this was kind of collaborative. You know, this isn't just for me. But I don't remember what I actually thought I was going to do with Larkin. I really can't remember.
Mm.
I knew that I wanted to be combat. I had, I think, spoken to you about buying your chainmail, so I knew that I
Oh
wasn't going
yes.
to be in a really bad place armor-wise, because I was quite concerned about fighting and just immediately dying. Because at that point, I was not a very good bot fighter. I didn't really. I knew what I was supposed to do. I just didn't have like the muscle memory to actually like get stuck in and do it.
Yeah, wearing armor
So
is a
I remember.
smart 10 out of 10 idea
Yeah, for
on a
sure.
battlefield.
And also having like a consistent weapon, because Larkin didn't have a consistent weapon for like until after COVID, I think.
Yeah, because you ended up with a spear, right?
Spear, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, oh god, the difference that made. It was like, when you know, you know. It was the right weapon. It was so good. But yeah, I don't remember. I'm trying to think, because we must have had E2, 3, and 4. And it was E4 of 2019, the last event before the Longest of Darks, when we had the issue rising with the heirs of Turuniel and the whole protect Akinia, protect Tharunin, protect Leathavan, like sending military unit actions back then. And I can't really remember what I did in E2 or E3, honestly. I've no idea. Wandered around, probably. had a great time, I'm sure. But E4, I remember we were getting ready to leave because I was getting a lift with you from London. And I'd kind of looked at this thing, I'd heard about it, and I hadn't seen anyone like say, oh, I'm going to organize it. I was like, okay, well, that doesn't mean there's no one doing it, but just in case no one has, it needs to be done. So I guess I'll, why not? Why not me? So I printed out a whole bunch of little leaflety things.
Oh, yeah, I
I
remember
went and
those. They were
approached
cute.
people. Yeah, they worked so well. I mean, I approached like general people at the time. Our friend Chris Melvin, who plays Clay. Sorry, God, Clay is
Uh-oh.
still living.
Uh-oh.
That was a Freudian slip to my future plan. No, I'm kidding. But he was General of Blackthorn still at the time, so he was very involved in Military Council. I hadn't really met Owen and Brenos, Owen, who plays Brenos, or any really of the other military stuff, but I was already interested in it. I knew Dan, who was the quartermaster at the time still, so I was like kind of on the side of that stuff. So when it came to, we're going to, we need someone to organize this, and I was like, well, I'm here.
50,000 strength? Oh no, was that? No, that was, sorry, that was
it
the
was
adventure.
more. I think we had to hit like,
it was
I think it was 12 and a half for one, and then 25 to 55. It was big numbers at the time. I mean, now we'd crush them easily. But even now it'd be quite hefty numbers because it was split across essentially 3 different fronts.
Yeah, and guessing
and the main struggle exactly was that you didn't want like a whole bunch of people going, oh, I don't remember which one, so I'm going to go to this one, which meant that they both, like, one failed and one was massively overachieved. I mean, the decision was made quite early on not to pursue one of the options, which was Liathavin at the time. So we went for Tharun and Hakinia only, which was interesting. But there you go. So I got massively involved in that. I was running around Military Council. I was meeting people. I was talking to people. I was so tired. I didn't sit down. There was a whole subplot going on with our friend Tiki because we'd created Shattersong, I think, the event before.
Gosh. Yes. That's it. I remember finding you in the marches and you were broken.
Oh my God, I was running around. I was exhausted. I couldn't feel my feet. This was amazing. Like, this is a highlight memory, but it was a lot at the time. And then you and Tiki came up to do like some like quite heavy role play, and I was just like, I can't do this right now.
I can't handle you right now.
I just can't. I can't do this.
Entirely icy as
Tiki's little face.
Yeah, OC, it was
equally OC and icy. I was just like, not now. Not now. Please, no. And so you just went away. But my God.
Dear listeners, Tiki is dead now. Totally unrelated.
Yeah. Well, we arranged the whole what's the word? The ritual. Do you remember that spooky ritual we did, that Neve did, to try and like bring back his memories? Because there was a whole thing, the Black Plateau and stuff, and he got tortured and his mind fractured. It was a whole thing. It was intense. But we tried to figure out a way to solve it, and then it created a whole other bunch of issues in character, like plot issues, not just bad issues.
Plot.
So it was a lot, but it was very interesting. But I was very tired, and I was like writing names and numbers, I think, until after time, about an hour after time out on the Sunday, or half an hour after, because they were processing an unbelievable amount of Merciless Wrath of Reavers.
Yeah,
like we had.
There was a queue of like 22 people in the center of Navarre.
Oh, there was way more than that. Yeah. There was, because they were just coming, and there were a couple of people doing the ritual, which was amazing. That was when I first got to know Blackjack, Matt Kay, who plays Blackjack, who just was absolutely smashing it. And I owed him a lot of mana. That was where the mana thing came from. Gosh, it's funny thinking back. Back before the gap of time that spans all our memories. It was mental, but it was so good. And then I think we were heading back, so we just packed up, and it was a late trip back. And I remember falling asleep in the car and honestly being genuinely amazed that you managed to drive us both home, because I was like, if I'm this tired, you were tired as well. Oh, I don't know if that was the same time. No, I think it was, because I think we almost fell asleep on the benches in the KFC.
Yeah, we weren't okay. We hit this
We
like
were so like slap
like
happy, like
psychedelic
beyond
effect
tired.
exhaustion where we just started giggling
We went
because
to the services and
oh
we
yeah.
ordered food and we couldn't stop laughing and we were like lying. We were making an absolute spectacle. And then we went back and got another order because we were so hungry.
Yeah,
Oh my god, that
and
was
we're still in
amazing.
kit. Yeah, that was good.
Well, that event was also when talk of Izella's dance came up. It hadn't been named at that point, I don't
Yeah, it
think,
was
or
the new
maybe it
army.
had just been named,
It was all, I
but
think
it
it was
was
very
going to
early
be
on the
ready.
idea, but yeah, I think that was the first event it was actually mentioned at all.
Yeah, because I remember at the time people starting to go, "Oh, there's this new army." Like, I can't remember how it arose, but like, "Oh, well, you know, do you think you'd run for it?" Because I was, you know, my face was essentially known that event,
Yeah.
alongside Madden Bitterbark, who is now on the NPC Crusade, who was adjutant to Blackthorns. I know Caro at the same time was not a general, but not an adjutant either, was just involved generally. Um, yeah, gosh, back in the day.
Would you say that was the event where the ripcord was pulled and like your character, like you know, like driving, like you get the bite on your clutch? Is this the point where like,
Yeah,
boom, we're in, let's get
it
rolling?
was absolutely. I think I hit the thing that I kind of just slotted into really well. And the fact that there was a gap there as well. You know, I had all the things that they needed. I was running around the field. I was happy to talk to lots of people. I had the numbers. I was able to write them down, the organization, things that worked, which also work really well for the military game. But I also wasn't already doing something else, I think, which helped. And I liked it, and I liked the people, and I loved being in the tent for the amount of time that I was in there. Like, there are the sort of big houses of the Empire, Senate, Conclave, Synod, Military Council. They are very Marmite parts of the game. Those meetings themselves are very Marmite game. Like, you either love it or you really have to tolerate it to be there. And I could not stand Senate. I don't think I could ever stand Senate. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But there are other people that love it. And there are people that think that of the military council, you know? Whereas I adore those meetings. Like, they can be long and tiring and annoying sometimes, but there's still something about the role play in there and the being in character and the decisions that are being made. I think that's it. I think all those houses are at such a high level of the game that they are so immersive that nothing breaks in. Everyone is so immersed, it feels so real to be
Mm.
involved in them.
It's not like walking the back alleys of Navarre and hearing conversations about phone charges and stuff.
Well, I mean, even not conversations about phone charges. You know, people running around being like, "Oh, I'm going to play some football," or "Have you been on a skirmish?" It's still immersive, but there's a very different level of like immediacy to I'm going to talk about the skirmish I'm going on versus having a really heated debate about where the armies should go. Like, it's just, you've already had to buy into the fact that there are fake armies somewhere in the world that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
To then be on the level of like intensely, you know, debate clubbing your way through something. I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but when you find it, you know. And I really did find that with Miniature Council,
Mm.
but I didn't know if I wanted to be a general. I didn't. I'd heard loads of like horror stories of, well, not horror stories, but everyone's like, yeah, it's great, but there's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of sitting down. But then in the same breath, they'd say, oh, but you don't have to do it that way. There are other people that don't do it that way, and that's fine. Like, that's the point. It's not supposed to be a one size fits all, and it's almost better if you don't. So I don't know. And then the longest friggin' dark.
Yeah,
So it
do
all
you
just
feel like
got
that?
set aside.
Do you feel like that robbed any momentum from your like your character arc and the kind of people you'd just been starting to talk to in 2019? Did that continue over the long dark, or did you almost have to like start again afterwards?
Um, well, I hadn't really started, I guess, is the thing. Like, because of having only really done like intensely being involved at E4, um, I'd I'd sort of been known from that, and I'd spoken at standing, and I'd apparently made enough of an impact that people knew who I was at that point. But I'd only had that one event, and the like repercussions of that event, with whether or not we'd won the Protector King and Protector Throne and stuff, didn't come out until
Like
like
days
the
before,
January
wasn't it?
before E1.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it was a little while
Oh, was it?
before. It
Oh,
was
good,
a
good.
a few weeks,
It felt
but
like
it
almost nothing
was
after that long wait.
yeah. No, but it was about when the wins would normally have come out before an E1. But of course, then we'd had like the full year and a bit of it. So I wasn't worried, but I also hadn't really decided at that point. I really genuinely hadn't. So I wasn't like, oh no, I'm losing time. Um,
Yeah, so what changed your
I
mind
think
then?
they hadn't said. Well, oh god, so many things. E1, E1 changed my mind. I tell you what, I got to E1 on that Thursday when everyone was having drinks and wandering around. And I ended up at the Forge with Riz, with Dave Turnermoth. And he was introducing me to people, talking to people, and everyone was talking, oh, you're going to go for the army, yeah? Yeah. And I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, it had come up. We knew that the army was now essentially finished and would be mustering, and therefore would be done by summer, which was much sooner than I had expected it to be. Which meant I didn't have much time to decide, basically, because I was like, I'm going to make no decisions at E1. I'm just going to see how it goes, and then I'll decide whether I'm running or not. And then found out, oh, there's only really 2 events, so I kind of need to make my mind up ASAP. But I ended up talking with Kit and Owen. That would have been Varn and Brenos. And Kit's character Varn at the time was also wanting to run for Rosella's Dance. He was one of the people. I'd already heard that Madden had moved to crew. I hadn't really heard of anyone else going for it. I think Rosalind's name was mentioned at the time.
Yeah, Rosalind was.
I'm
Yeah.
throwing out a lot of names without, explaining who they are, but sorry guys, deal with it. This is my time to chitter chatter away. But I was talking to them about it, and like, these are my concerns, like about this and that, and they were going, oh well. I mean, Owen in particular, being a long-term general, was like, well, don't worry about this because of that, and come along, and do you want to be, try it out as adjutant for a bit? And I was like, sure, that sounds great. So I'd kind of gone like, I'm most of the way decided, just because I was like, I guess I really want it. The more I talked to people, the more I was like, yeah, I want to be a general. How fucking cool does that sound? To be like, essentially me as a human being, Matty, I achieved this amazing thing. Like, regardless of whether it's in character or not, there's something very different to achieving that in a giant fest LARP than, on paper as a Dungeons and Dragons character. You've really done a thing.
You changed a lot of people's minds because of the scale of it.
Yeah, you've convinced them that you're good at it. Hopefully you actually then are good at it. It's a really there's a lot of actual OC responsibility and stuff to do that comes with having a title in the Empire in the game. There really is. I mean, we know this from hearing about on the grapevine, like Roz, who played Elizabetta, the Empress. There was a lot of investment that she put in, both financially and time-wise, into making it a thing, and not just, oh, I'm a player that wears fancy hats sometimes. You
Yeah, like a
you
literal. I
kind of
think the
you
size
buy
of her
into that.
tent, the entourage was. I
Yeah,
remember
she
seeing
set
it,
up the
thinking it
Imperial
was
offices.
PD. Yeah, but it's not. It's
There was
all
so
of their
much.
own.
Yeah, it's awesome, and there's so much that you really do have to buy into it, because you're essentially a face. Then you are a person. You aren't an NPC, but you start to approach that kind of gray area level where you do a lot of directing of people and answering of questions. You don't have to. I should clarify. This isn't like a requirement. You can absolutely tell everyone who comes up to you to fuck off and go and find a ref or whatever. You don't have to do any of this stuff. But it's part of I think it's part of it for me. It was always part of it for me, is that I saw people doing this and I wanted to be doing that. That was really part of the responsibility and the position. And that was also part of what appealed to me. Like, I wanted to be a face for people and like direct people. I wanted people to go, oh, go ask Larkin, or like, oh, don't worry, just follow Larkin, or that kind of stuff, that really appeals to me.
And is that just
So I was like, yeah.
generally that appeals to you, or did that start to kindle when you did the Brokeliand, the
I
Runin, and
think,
what's the other
yeah,
one?
I think that was a big,
The I think that's it.
a,
The one
we
that
always
everybody
forget the other
forgets
them.
about. Yeah, when you're doing
I
all of the
think,
events for them.
honestly, yeah, I think that was a big, like, life changer one for me. I'd never really, I mean, I knew that I liked organizing things kind of, but I'd never realized how much it would energize me to be in such an intense position of organization and responsibility. Like, I loved that so much. That's why I put everything into it. I really put everything into that weekend, and it was so worth it. And I liked, yeah, I discovered that I quite like numbers, which is quite funny. So yeah, all of that, I was like, yeah, I really like this. I do. And I can do it, was the other thing. I can do that. I can achieve it. People will, most importantly, other people will buy in to me believing I can do it and then help me do it. And they won't just turn around and give you a side eye and go, yeah, but who are you? Like, sorry, you're not like a long time established player. Sorry. Yeah, I'd been playing for a year and a half, more than almost a year, almost 2 years at that point. I'd been playing for, which isn't nothing when it comes to LARP, as we've
Sure.
established.
But
7 events is like a lifetime,
yeah,
but there's still a difference between
there's some
feeling
people who've
like
got
you're.
14 years. I think with some of
Yeah,
the
I
some
mean,
of the
well, of
E1,
Empire less
year
so,
one,
but yeah,
E1, yeah.
it's about 7 years now, 8 years, I think,
Yeah, I
something
think
like
it's
that.
Maelstrom's before that, and you've got people who started then, and basically have had two
Yeah,
characters.
Maelstrom Odyssey. Yeah, it's crazy. So it was amazing. It wasn't even like, support. It wasn't like people were going, yay, go Larkin. We want to make you do the thing, like help you. How can we support you? Because we think you'd be great. It wasn't that kind of patronizing feel of it. It was very much like, oh, okay, you're doing the thing? Cool. Here's my answer. Are you the person organizing it? Okay, cool, great. And just bought in immediately.
Mm.
Like, oh, you're organizing that. Cool. You need to talk to that person. There was almost no hesitation with it, which was amazing. And so energizing. God, I remember those days. So yeah.
Yeah, when you say those days, my next question was going to be, did you, it was going to be what did you do right? But I'm going to change it slightly to, do you feel like going into the military game was the right thing for Larkin? And what I mean by that is, let's say you hadn't become a general, you didn't
Mm,
win a sailor's dance, for example, or you'd never picked up the ownership of sending military units to Kellyanne, the Runin,
yeah.
and the other one. So, do you feel like you would have gone a different path at that point and become like some mercenary banner leader or some like feared individual warrior or general nuisance? Like, do you feel like you could have
General
made
nuisance.
more, made more of
Um,
Larkin that way, or do you feel like this was the preordained path that you ended up on?
I think this was the most me and Larkin it could ever have been. Like, I think if I'd gone any other direction, I would have ended up in a similar position. Probably, I'd have ended up in the military game somehow, in an organizational role somehow. Um, and I think I. So okay, so just this is a bit of a tangent, but it is relevant, I promise. So we know of Dog End, the worst pub in Navarre.
The
Gotta love those
best dive
guys.
bar, the best dive bar.
They're incredible. But they have recently decided to re-roll into, I think, the Marches or Varishka with some of their friends.
Yeah, I think it's
And
about.
one of the things that I've heard, this is, apologies if this is overstepping, but this is what I had heard in a discussion. I think I read it on Facebook or something. Sam, amazing Sam, who played Red, who was
Yeah.
one of the bards of Navarre, very very well known Naga. Mentioned that one of the reasons that he didn't want to play Red anymore was that Red was created at a time when he was essentially learning how to play himself. If this is very heavily paraphrased, this is kind of what I've read into it.
Mm.
And now, like in OC life, he felt like at such a point that he kind of wanted to play something new and different. And I kind of feel very similarly with Larkin, which is that I through Larkin have hit such a point of being who I want to be, which was Larkin. She's a lot of wish fulfillment for me. That like that was what I wanted, and I was living through Larkin in the best way. Like really genuinely, everything that I did, I really loved and wanted to do and wanted for myself on an OC level as well as an IC one. Now I could absolutely have played something different, and I may well end up playing something different for the next character. But if you look at Meredith, who was also heading swiftly towards miniature game from the beginning, I think it was slightly inevitable. I kind of sniffed out what I wanted, and I was going that way, regardless of who I was playing.
Interesting.
Because again, Larkin wasn't created to be a military game character. That's just what happened, which was because of my choices, not because of pre-written character stats or anything.
Nice, because there was a opportunity for E1 for a maze in Varushka. I think Farron's actually gone round that in downtime
Yeah.
before E2, where essentially you can go through and, you know, lore and fluff aside, the idea is you can just respec and redesign your character, including their attitude and their likes, dislikes, that kind of thing. I don't think you can change lineage or anything too dramatic, but exactly in that red case there, sort of,
Yeah.
if you started out like most people do, right? They start out playing themselves with a coat of LARPing paint on top of them, and then after a few characters, when they feel like they want to try something new, they create a whole new persona. Do you feel that kind of maze is good for players to keep it in, so you get characters having big changes in game?
I think so. Yeah, because I think that there's definitely an avenue to do that out of the game. Like if you want to just re-roll, then you can just re-roll. Like there's definitely times when that's the right decision. Like with Taryn, I was never ever gonna continue with that character in any respect. I just didn't love any of it. But then there are times like with my new character coming up, I've kind of written into the way I've designed the character that I could then step into a lot of different directions in play. And I do like, it's nice to have funky, cool things to do sometimes, like the idea of a maze where you can go and get personality rewrite. Some people write themselves into corners. We've had friends do that before. I mean, our friend Reese, as you know, he was playing a character who was a bit of a dick, and that was part of the character. But he found that in sticking to that character, he was kind of isolating himself away from game.
Oh yeah,
because he wasn't then pushing.
he
was, and he knew that. But then rather than that was so much part of the character that that would have been a good one for the maze.
True.
It would have been a great one for the maze. But at the time there wasn't a maze, so it was a reroll.
It was just a
because that's not
instead.
Yeah. I mean, it's not when it's a personality thing, it's really hard to do that without a reroll. Like you can change stats if you need to. You can really, if you got really worried about it, you can do that. You can change lineage if you really need to. There are ways of doing that in the game. But personality is quite a hard one. And if you again, if this is an OC IC thing, if you are a player that doesn't want to play it, you can just be like, oh, I've had a change of heart and I play it differently. But people play these characters because they want to play a character in a really strong way. So then it wouldn't feel as honest to the character to just suddenly change it, I guess, as well.
Yeah, it's got to be...
And it's easier to start fresh sometimes. Yeah, it does. And you can just then be like, it's a new character. So you can make the relationships all over again without the history.
Yeah, because when you want it to be real, so because it's it's all live action, and then when you bring the role play side of it together, you're putting those two aspects in the same boat, right? So it's like a live action role play event. So yeah, gotta make it believable. It's hard.
Yeah, and so I think there's different times when the different ways of doing it are better suited, and I like that the maze exists.
Yeah, because before it was just a big ditch full of corpses. I wonder. I wonder.
So many mushrooms.
I wonder how many Empire hero deaths have been, well, character changes.
Yeah.
What percentage?
Yeah, I wonder too.
Yeah.
I wonder too.
Yeah, but
it'd be interesting to know. But there you go.
I
mean, I'm on 0.5. This shocks everyone. I'm on 0.5 with my new character, which is unbelievable because Meredith was 1, my temporary character, now this is where I made the error, right? Is because I did the temporary character at the end of the event where Meredith died.
Yep.
And then I re-rolled that and made a new character as Charon. And so Larkin was actually 0.4 instead of technically 0.3 from being played.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know at the time, but I could have just, instead of making a whole new character, just emailed in to change the one that I had temporarily made. Also, complete side tangent, I found out yesterday that you can actually list what virtue you're dedicated to on your character creation. I thought that was impossible, but apparently if you take the dedicate skill when you're first making the character, you can't do this any other time, but when you're first making the character, if you take the dedicate skill, you can then go back like 2 steps to where it says like archetype, territory, resource, and then it will come up with virtue and you can pick one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I've been complaining for ages that you can't do that.
So what? So they know what virtue your priest is dedicated to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, which is crazy because I remember the first time I played a priest, which was Larkin. Yeah, Larkin came in with a congregation. Shit, I forgot about that.
That's a
Yeah.
That's
Back in the day.
yeah.
Well,
not the best.
I wanted to do the Thorn Priest thing, which I've stuck to and I'm going to be sticking to, funnily enough, but slightly changing. And I had a whole subplot going on with her resource where she got so ambitious that the congregation she was preaching to were like, yeah, we're so fired up on ambition. We're going to leave now and go and do our own thing. And she was like, okay, cool. Guess I've achieved ambition. So she had a business for one event while wandering around with Izella's Dance and then gathered a military unit from Thorns of Izella's Dance. There was a whole little subplot that I made up for myself just to make myself happy and to justify my resource changes.
I guess it's better than saying, yeah, I lost my congregation because I stopped turning up and they lost faith in me.
Oh God, yeah. Equally valid though.
Yeah. Me and my congregation don't get along anymore.
We don't get along. I'm not allowed to preach to them.
Yeah. There's an incident, mishap at the zoo.
We don't talk about the incident. Yeah, no, that was the thing. I started with that.
Nice. So my second question was going to be, it sounds like you did the right thing of getting onto the military track and going in.
I said yes. Yeah, I said yes. That was the key thing.
But talking there with the priest side of things and dropping that, do you feel like there was anything that you did wrong, or not like wrong isn't totally incorrect, but something you did that worked out all right, but you could have approached in a better way to get more out of it?
Ooh, okay. Oh, that's really interesting. Funnily enough, I think this is one of the few areas of my life and player life in general where I there were very few moments that I regretted at all. I just had it was such a ride. Maybe if I'd been playing the character for another few years, then maybe. I think my only sort of moments that I did wrong are maybe moments that I wished I'd done better. And that's roleplay moments when I wasn't sure what to say, or I've had some amazing roleplay moments where the most incredible role players have been doing some amazing stuff and I've just been there like, I'm loving this and I have no idea what to say and I'm just going to have to make that a character thing because I don't know how to I just want to make this better. I don't want to make this worse and I don't know how to do that. Yeah. I mean, even from the very beginning, that first event, the E1, when I was talking about whether or not to go for it, when I accidentally ended up in Gin Club for the very first time. Sorry, New Promise Cartel. I accidentally ended up in Gin Club. I still don't know how I got in. No one really does, but I guess it was meant to be because I ended up speaking to Cardinal of Ambition, who's still a Cardinal of Ambition, who I actually mentioned in our Sunday episode of E1 about the fact that I spoke to her about ambitions back then because Rizal introduced us and I had a great chat. And she's very intense, amazing role player, great character. Very unsettling in a way that I know is an IC choice and is amazing because of how it made me feel. And I was like, ooh, I really want to impress you. But that was also like the real moment where I was kind of like, I don't really know. Like, do I want this? Do I not want this? On an in-character note, because I'm pretty sure now on an out-character note, I'm saying yes. And yeah, I was like, yes, okay. But that same event, I think I was an adjutant. I guess I didn't do that as well as I could have done. Like, I did regret not being the best adjutant in the world. I did fine, but I think it was kind of always slightly known that this was more interim before I hopefully got the army than dedicate to the mechanics now kind of thing.
Yeah, because we actually saw you a lot as an adjutant, and then as a general, we did not. Even though in
Yeah.
theory they're in the same meetings, same tents, same
Yeah, I
social
mean,
circles,
I
right?
also probably shouldn't have been out. The first event that I was adjutant, and the second event also that I was adjutant, I didn't really stick to it as much as I should have done. Certainly the first event, because I was kind of just temporary at that point, except that I also wasn't. It was a whole thing. There's just been so many moments. I have a piece of paper. Well, I mean, Larkin has a piece of paper
Larkin
that
had
was
a piece
written
of paper.
saying, "Oh, rip." You just have to rub it in. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of cool things. Like the first time, the piece of paper that I was given to show to the herald to say that I was adjutant, which said I make something like I make Larkin Shattersong my adjutant, and it said for this event, but it had been crossed out. So it just said I make Larkin Shattersong my adjutant, and I was handed that without comment, and I read it, and I was like,
oh, from Brenos directly?
I'm not going to say it. Yeah, to give to the herald,
cute.
because I think he had to go and do something. But I looked at it like, not just for this, like, no, it was unsaid. We never discussed it, but I was like, yeah. And that was also, an insight into Brenos's character. The moment with Vivienne was amazing. Oh God, there's just been every event that I could talk about. I could talk for hours about the events, one by one, and how fantastic they were, and all of the things that came with it. The people, those
almost
little
like
memories.
a episode by episode podcast review of it.
Oh gosh, what?
Yeah, that'd be interesting actually.
Yeah, you weren't doing it back in my rise to fame moment though.
No,
I mean, there's things like I can remember. Cry.
You had to
It's
earn
true
that
though.
that fame.
It's true. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, because
I got asked to be a ref that same event.
Cool.
That was the event that I got asked to referee. I can't
believe you'd abandon us, lowly orcs, on the field.
Well,
to literally sit there and guide
funny
us
you
to
say
our
that.
deaths.
The only decision that I made, the only thing that I said yes to, that I wasn't sure about, I said yes to because I knew that I would regret it if I didn't. I knew that, like, I really would regret it if I didn't, and that was saying yes to doing Battlefield Command.
Interesting. Okay.
I've said this before, so you guys take the piss out of me every time.
It's very easy.
Every time for being like, you abandoned Black Sky, you don't fight with Black Sky, we'll test your loyalties, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I said this at one point, and I was like, guys, like, I get that this is a joke, but this really bothers me. Like, it's genuinely something I'm completely guilty and torn over.
You know, we were also annoyed of, like, you're meant to be our conscience, one of our senior members, and you
I know, but it was
off. How could you?
I was not a senior member. I was your conscience. I had nothing to do with Battlefield shit.
But yeah, you're literally conscience, like our moral guiding compass
Rizart
of the group.
And Travid are both senators. You didn't see them any more than you saw I did.
Brenos and
also,
Caro
I tried to give up
generals,
conscience.
and we still needed Larkin, didn't we?
That's just Larkin. Mate, this is sounding very Larkin specific. You just needed Larkin.
You needed Larkin. No,
we miss her. I needed Larkin.
Sorry, battle ref.
Yeah, no, it was not that the Battlefield Command, not Battlefield Refing. So I really, like, every event I was like, ha ha ha, yeah, like, I can't say no to it because
what does that mean?
I would
regret
did you
want
it.
To take command, or did you
yes,
not like
I did. No, okay. I 100%. I knew there would never in my life be another opportunity like that. Not genuinely, never in my life am I going to get an opportunity in any other aspect of my life to shout orders at 500 armored people. You know, that's just not something in my future at all. And that kind of responsibility and that kind of power, I guess, that authority, like I'd never have access to that ever again. I knew I would have times in the future where I'd fight with you guys. Like I knew that was going to happen, which was fine. So saying yes to that, I was like, it's like if someone said, oh, I don't even know, like, hey, do you want a year's contract as president of the world?
Yeah,
you know, but
right,
in that time you won't get to hang out with your friends or family. You don't get to see them, but you're president of the world. You know, or do you want to go to Narnia, or you know, which insert fantasy world of your choice? Do you want to go to Narnia for a year? You don't know when you'll come back, but you probably will come back. Like that's really quite a guarantee. There will be other chances to come back.
I don't know,
but
man.
there might not be another Narnia.
We have a joke about Narnia in the Kingston group of like this van, this basically outside Games Workshop, and I worked there. This van skidded to a hole in the street. These guys got out and then they started moving a wardrobe out of it, and we were just like, "What the fuck?" It was obviously like a house move, all right?
Yeah.
But we were like, "Fuck, that is the wrong kind of Narnia. I do not want to get in there." Like, come on, guys! There's a lion, a witch, and a wardrobe in my van. Get in.
Spooky.
Yeah. So no, if I could go to Narnia, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm afraid.
All right. Well, the Dan Abnett universe then.
No, I'd die in seconds.
Okay.
No, Matty. What I would like.
You know my fucking point, Chris. You understand. I'm trying to make it relatable so you can understand why I was so conflicted.
Yeah, it's something like you said. There's no access to that kind of position outside of being a general.
It's a once a lifetime. Yeah.
You know, and
no, it's got nothing to do with being a general. I was Battlefield Command before I was general.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, like Riz. Riz got it at Field Marshal, right?
That was Field Marshal, yeah. But I was Battlefield. I was leading Navarre before I was a general.
Gotcha.
I was second in command, or one of the second in commands. No, okay, yeah, that is actually really crucial to the. It's really crucial to the whole, I think, misunderstanding between what is being a general, is the fact that we don't like the words that we use. I know the difference between campaign and tactical general, strategy general versus battlefield command. I know that if I say battlefield, that means I see going through the Sentinel Gate. Whereas a general is downtime, resource, army. Like, that's the difference. So the people that are generals and field commanders are two things. It's not because they're a general.
I remember that popping up on the wiki.
Yeah, it's come up quite a lot because it's an easy mistake to make, because so many people are naturally both, but they are two things. It's not one thing under one, two things under one umbrella. It's someone with two different roles, essentially. You don't have to have one to do the other, which has got a bit confusing. But yeah, anyway, all that to say, I felt shit about it a lot because I missed you guys. I missed fighting with you guys. I didn't like the shit you were giving me because I felt bad about it already. And I was like, please, can you just understand and be happy for me? Please stop. But anyway, it happened and it's done. So that is actually one of the single good things that I found about death, is that I don't have to make that decision anymore. Because I'm not going to end up straight back in Battle Command because I'm a nobody now.
Gotcha. Well, nobody for the moment, because the original question was what you feel like you did wrong, but talking about the actual death part and to go onwards, what was it like processing character death and the grief that came with it? I know you talked about the actual immediate effect in the last episode, so if you want to hear that, everyone listening in, go there. But for the the post part, let's say like 2 days later. From then onwards, what was it like? Because you're pretty chill now. You can make jokes. You've got a new character and a plan, and you're excited for E2, right?
Yeah.
But how did you get to that point from the Monday after E1?
Well, can I go back a bit more and talk about a different character death grief?
Ooh, all right.
That came first. Thanks.
No.
So no, I don't allow it. So the last time that all Shattersong together was Walk the Longest Path. That was awesome. That was great.
Oh, that was so good. Yeah.
And that was the first time that any of us had seen an icy corpse glade. And we had our whole ceremony, and it was amazing. It's very meaningful. But we still were aware that someone was playing dead, right? It was very emotive at the time, but it wasn't hitting us. And then the next event, E2, Ban was executed.
Mm.
And that, I think, was the first time that I was so bowled over by emotions in LARP. Because, and I think if I hadn't had that experience, then like processing Larkin would have been a lot harder. But because I'd been through that feeling of, you know, it changed the character for a bit. It really did. It's a huge impact. Someone who you're really close to, IC, dies, and then they're just gone. I mean, I cried a lot. I cried a lot then. And I think everyone was quite concerned, but I yeah, it was good. I was like in the moment, and I wanted to be crying. Like if I really had wanted to stop, I probably could have done. But I was feeling it, and I was, you know, in that moment, and it made it different. And there were people to talk to about it, and there was anger to feel about it, and there were people to tell, and it was something that changed the fabric of Shattersong and of, you know, the repercussions of all the money stuff that happened afterwards. There was just so much that came with it, some of which was less desirable than others, but it still was, it was so much. Like your death, as ignoble as it maybe was, gave so much to my game, especially in that event, but also in like even even 2 events after, you know, it really put a lot out there. And it sucks that you were dead, really did. And I've never looked at Lindy the same way as I ever did at Ban, but you know,
What does that
that's
mean?
life.
With hatred or respect or both?
The lack of respect is what I'm saying. There was not as much respect. But you know, we hadn't been through the same things, because Linda is a different character, and that was also really interesting to process, because you'd been through other characters before, but I'd never been so super close to them.
Mm.
And I think this was the first character that had died that I was like, oh wow, now I have to process on an OC level you not playing the same person anymore. And so I think I just avoided you at first. And actually it worked out well, because that's kind of the vibe that I always had with Linda anyway, was like, oh hey, guy over there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Linda,
Cool.
like when you died, it was like, oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, right?
Just yeah,
And it's
we never
crazy
had.
to
I don't
think
think we ever
that
talked. I see. Like
not really, no.
maybe
A couple of
literally
times.
once, like in a group setting, but one on one, I don't think.
Yeah, no. I think the
Less
first thing
than
you
3.
said to me was, are you the general? Or are you, I think you said, are you Neve or something? I can't remember. Anyway.
Oh yeah, that was to wind you up,
Anyway,
but yeah.
yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
I
it was
thought
a
you were
whole
Neve.
thing.
Yeah.
It was so funny. It was a time, but it was really interesting. It was really interesting to process that. It's like what I've actually lost is the interactions. I have lost a friend. I have, because I don't get that character to interact with anymore. That person is not going to be there. That personality, that history, those stories, like those in-jokes, they're gone. They are actually gone, regardless of whether you and I know about them. I never get to RP with you again. Larkin doesn't have ban anymore. That's gone. And that is a real loss. You know, it's really gone. Which I think was what kept striking me, like when you were just dead, and I was like, oh, this is madness.
This is Sparta.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. This is Sparta. This is the way. Don't get trademark striked for it. Sorry.
Yeah, Matt P comes in with a shotgun. I'm like, sorry, guys.
You can't say that. But fast forward to my death. I mean, it was less than a year later, actually. I only got another 3 events from you. Oh, I don't know.
Same, wasn't it? I died at E2.
2.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, crikey, that's not long at all. Yeah.
You died at E2, and I died at E1 the next year.
But you made a good friend, Esteban. At least you got some.
I did. Gotta love Marcos. Yeah, I mean, look, this is what I'm saying. Your death created a lot of stuff for me, and across the field, that has developed into, you know, friendships. Some not friendships, some underlying stuff. We met the Skywise properly through that. There were curses going on. Some of it was not good plot, in the sense that OC, we really were like, really, we don't want to have to be playing this out. This seems unnecessary. But we played it, and it has created more game. It's added to the tapestry.
Yeah.
So it's done a lot, one person's death. And I guess when I was dying, you know, apart from the massive rage and denial that this could possibly be it, that was one of the things that was useful to hold on to. And one of the things that that lovely ref was saying, you know, he was saying, one of the things he said, you know, do you want to sit here for a bit? And I was like, yeah, I want to keep sitting here. I can't go back yet. And he went, well, just remember that your death is for them. You know, it is for them. Like, it's for you as well, but it's mostly for them because they get to carry this forward. It's for you 25%. It's for them 75%. Even more of a weighting than that, 10 to 90, because they carry it forward and you will process this for a while and then go into a new character and move on. And, you know, that was like, oh God, you're right. Yeah, because Ban's death was really for Larkin. Like, it was. It helped my character, it helped my role playing, completely changed direction of many, many things. So yeah, that was really interesting to hold on to. I gotta say, it was really weird. I came back to real life. Came back OCO, I went to work, and very unfortunately, a couple of my colleagues had all very recently lost family members.
Oh, really? Oh,
And it was a tough time, it really was. But like, I was kind of there, like, I can't really talk about these things that I'm feeling because I fake died at the weekend, and I'm like, you know, hitting depression levels for it. Not because of being, you know, actually depressed, but because I was the LARP hangover, LARP drop, also just going back into real life. You know, there was a lot to it. So I was like, I can't really. But I've had conversations with them since then, and it did help me process specifically, like, what I could sort of justify feeling the grief about, which was that real loss of the people and the work. And it feels a bit like getting unceremoniously fired from a job that you've just been promoted in. You know, sorry, bye, no more.
Well,
Can't
yeah,
apply
company
again.
folds overnight. You're like, great, cool. What do I do?
Yeah, well, even that, like, it feels like being fired because the job is still there. I'm just not allowed to do it. And everyone, if I tried to do it, would be like, we don't know who you are, you can't. Sorry. Someone else is doing that now. So yeah, it's weird. It's tough. And the LARP drop didn't help. I think when at the end of the event, I mentioned this on the other one, but I went over to the military council tent and I just sat and listened, and I almost interjected a few times, and I had to really hold myself back from it, which was alarming, but really, you did reinforce stuff for me. But the amount of hugs I got, all of the comments I got, I think I really needed that to be like, this had weight to other people and not just in my imagination.
Yeah,
Like, I needed that.
Yeah, and the point you just said there around, well, basically doing the same thing again. How do you feel? What's your opinion on someone like? So okay, let's take some of my characters as an example. We had El Bandito, if it led into Ban, and uh, it was a little bit of an accident. There was a small gap of about an event, but they were basically both criminals, right? I was in the same game as the same, I'm still Chris. Same player,
Well, you
same
only
game.
had one
each
event
time.
as El Bandito.
Al Badir, he had like three, I think, but he was
I
he was a
didn't
petty,
think
he was a
so.
petty criminal. Ban
Yeah, it didn't
became
last
a
for
lot
very
more.
long.
Oh yeah, they never do. But Ban was much more serious. But still, it was like oh, you know, you just play criminals now, and like, and then Lindir, the character idea behind Lindir, because post death with Ban, I was like, I had no idea what to do. I don't know if it was the same for you, but for me, it was the
Yeah.
yawning gap of I could go into any part of this gigantic fucking game. What do I do?
Well, I
And
mean, for us both, we both died kind of like at the beginning of the stories. So you're just like making a niche into stuff. So you haven't finished the thing that you're doing from an OC perspective.
true,
Like I
yeah,
haven't
yeah,
I
I
haven't
was
in
just
any
becoming a
way
major
got
criminal.
near where I want to be. Exactly. Well, look, yeah, you were doing your thing, you were doing your murking, you were getting that set up. In terms of the game that you wanted to do, you as a player, you were still doing it. You hadn't chosen to stop, you hadn't grown tired of it, you hadn't done all the things there were to do, which I found really hard about processing, not just turning around and running for Ozo's Dance next event, because physically I could do it, and it really feels wrong to just drop it from an OC perspective. Like, I, Matty, want to be in the tent. I've put a lot of time and effort into learning the mechanics and the people and the politics going on, and it feels like really wrong to just rip away from that when I haven't essentially got any closure on it. I haven't finished it at all.
Yeah, I think there's two schools of thought in my opinion. The first one is that you should go and do what you want, regardless of the the kind of like Larkin's just died. Your new character comes in, goes for general, and tries to get it. And let's imagine you did, and you end up back in the tent, and everyone's like, "I thought you were dead," and you're like, "Oh no, I mean, I was, but I'm back." But whilst some people might cringe at that, you pay for a ticket to go and have a good time, and if
like
having
no
a
one
good
can
time is in
stop
the
you
tent,
from doing that.
yeah, just go do it. But then on the other hand, it's I think there's almost there's so much variety in the game that I would struggle, at least in my opinion. I think everyone would struggle to only find one bit they enjoy. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of niches out there, and I think after you die, go and have a crack at something else, even if if you're a one-shot character, even if it only lasts an event, hell, even a Saturday, just have a crack at something else and see if it's.
So good. I guess it, like the schools of thought that you're saying, I guess what you're trying to, like, what you mean is essentially, are you playing the game for yourself, or are you playing the game for everyone
people.
else? Slash, not necessarily just for other people, but in your game you want to make it more like for everyone. It's a bit for everyone. And I think when you get to the higher levels of the game, when you get to the title levels of the game, it tends to be that the general consensus is that you play the game for yourself, but you are also playing the game for everyone else. Like, you are making game for everyone else on an OC level. Which is why, I've been really pleased that a lot of the people around me in the military council are people with that kind of idea of, okay, well then how do we share this? How do we make this better? How do we involve other people? How do we make this world bigger? Like, how do we get people in? What can we do? What can we hand off? All of that kind of thing. That's not just, how do I get to do my thing for longer? Which, as we've discussed, OC, I'm assuming, don't really want to go into now, but there are characters and players on the field who definitely do just play the game for themselves. And that is to the detriment of the game, not just of other people, but of the game as a whole, I think. So it is one of the two schools of thought. But I think you can kind of have both. I don't think you have to go and try something else. I know there are people that want to do that. And I know people that struggle to like stay in the game and not do something slightly nuanced. But I think that's also, maybe you need to trust that the people around you will have the ability to play with you as a new character and like treat you as a new character. Like, if I went into the military council, I would want to trust that, and I would trust that people would treat me as a new character.
Yeah, you want to earn it again, right? Because otherwise it's worth.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Worth as much.
Yeah, but I'm kind of, that's definitely one thing. That's the thing. I wouldn't respect myself a little bit because I know that I would be getting it from an OC note, not from an IC one.
Yeah.
And the thing about, I think, a lot of Black Scars, one of the things that we really have in common is that we play the game because we love the acting side of it, the role playing, the character. And a lot of the times that character is not ourselves. And we want the differentiation between characters because we want to try different things and be different people and all of that. And I think if I re-rolled and did exactly the same thing, I would want them to trust that I was doing it as a different character. I'm not just playing Larkin 2.0. If I happen to be in the same part of the game, I would hope that people would understand that I was doing it as a new character. Because Matty finds it interesting, not because I'm just Larkin again. Like, I would be finding a different angle, even if I ended up in the same niche.
Yeah. Oh, I like
That being
that.
said,
Yeah,
I
same
feel
niche,
like
different angle. I like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I could turn around and I could run Frez's dance. I would hope that people wouldn't elect me because I'd be a random new character and there are other more qualified people.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean that I couldn't get, run for Blackthorns at E3. Gosh, I'm out of step now. Yeah, E3 or Quiet
Yeah.
Step at
Or become a
E4. Like,
battle
there's no
captain
reason I
because we've
couldn't.
lost a lot of
Or
them this event.
exactly.
There's a
There's a
big
lot that I
gap to
could
fill.
step into.
Yeah.
And I would hope that people would do that based on what I would show in the game, not just an OC knowledge of who I am and that I was Larkin. That's the thing. And I think in the military council, I could trust that everyone would do that. Whereas the wider game, it's quite easy to see it as, oh, Matty just wants the power again, so she's just made another Larkin character, so I guess we'll just let her in. Yeah, we know people that have done that. There are people that fall into that. And sometimes you need it because on an actual pure mechanical note, we don't have anyone in that position, so someone's got to do it. And if you've done it before, you're much more likely to volunteer again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to let things fail knowing that you could step in, even if it's from
I really like. Yeah. Yeah,
a plot point.
Yeah.
But that's the struggle that I found thinking about next event.
Yeah, I think people are quite short memories. So if you keep low profile for events and come at, same niche, different angle, for E3, for example, then become. I feel like if you jumped basically into Larkin's old route of becoming a battle captain and then gaining some fame and becoming a general.
Yeah, I mean,
again,
I don't think I'd battle captain again because I've kind of done that.
Please,
that was what.
Jesus God, we need.
No, but Chris, this is what
So
I'm
many
saying. That was the good thing about not
I
having to do it because I didn't like that conflict on an IC or an OC note. I just didn't like it. I missed you guys, and I really loved what I was doing, and I wanted nothing but. Like, it was one of those things that you really love, but you doubt very slightly. So you kind of need everyone to be really on board.
Mm.
And the second that people aren't really on board, you kind of have to dig your heels in, but you start doubting. So I don't think I would only do it again if I wasn't part of Black Scar anymore.
Gotcha. Which is
otherwise I'm going to try and fight with you. I mean, it is. I'm not officially yet.
Yeah, I'm hanging around because Linda only got blooded in last event.
Well, they're going to make me work for it. I hope they make me work for it.
We will.
I want the roleplay of it because I got into Black Scar by default as Larkin.
Yeah, because I was, when I was hanging around with Eden last year.
Holy shit! I just remembered. My first event as Larkin was when we had the conscience thing. Because I was the only person. That was how I got sworn into Black Scar. Because I was the only person around with a congregation. I said, "Oh, I guess I'll do it."
Damn, right.
And they were like, "Yeah, cool, yeah."
Yeah. What I was going to say was for Linda, I was barely in Black Scar when I was hanging out with Eden, E3, E4, and the Thornfang, which was fucking cool.
For sure thought you were going to go off to
Same.
Thornfang.
I was pretty convinced. And then like the Navarches stuff as well. They're a fucking awesome group to roll with.
You were great with the Navarches as well, yeah.
Yeah, and just being able to turn up in like 4 different camps and be welcome. As opposed to 4 different camps and be kind of an outsider. I felt welcomed in each group, and of course Black Scar as well. But after, not gonna.
I have actually thought about this. Sorry, you finish, and then I'll do my new point.
I was gonna say, no, not to dust ourselves too, like not to fluff our own feathers, but Black Scar nailed it at E1, and that's what made me OC go right. Black Scar are the professional unit where I can satisfy my murder boner of killing hundreds and hundreds of Druge, which I will ask you about
like you said, you still pay your ticket to play your event.
Yeah, I came here
and
I
still pay my ticket to play my event.
Yeah.
I do. And I think I did learn from Taryn that I don't want another event like that. So I have spent several years of playing this game slowly figuring out what I definitely don't want to do, so at least I know what to avoid mostly. Which is interesting. But what I was going to say is I was thinking about this recently because I think I was talking to like my dad or someone who was like, well, are you going to stay with the same group or do you change groups? Like, how does it work when you make a new character? Do you have to leave? And I was like, no, you don't have to leave. Some people do. But I don't think I ever would, because specifically for me, this is my friendship time with you guys. I don't see you on a casual, like, weekly, monthly basis. I don't see you guys. So this is my time to hang out with you guys and socialize. And for other people, maybe they see their friends like off and on. They live nearby. So then it would make sense that if you went to LARP, you'd be like, okay, cool, I'm going to go camp with these guys and fight with those guys and whatever. Because you still have that time throughout the year. Whereas these 4 events are like my main times to hang out with you guys at all. So camping with you is like, that's like the thing. That's my thing. I want to do that. So even if I went and made friends with other people, and I can't see myself leaving the group for
Oh yeah, camp
like
with us,
camping
hang out with
or
Black
IC
Scar.
purposes.
But do you want
But
to be
even for
blooded in?
IC, I don't know.
Yeah.
Blooded in, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Gotta find out.
Don't know, mate. Don't know, mate. We'll find out.
So,
We'll have to wait and see.
So I did promise near the start of the episode, an hour and a bit ago, to ask you about
Right,
something you might know,
yeah.
which is your opinion on the Jotun, Druge,
Oh.
and Grendel. So yeah, this is not like IC. I assume you don't like any of them, but probably the Druge is at the bottom.
Don't like Druge. Don't like Grendel.
Nothing wrong
What's
with
the
them.
meme?
Just hate them. Yeah.
Just hate him. Just don't like him.
Like the Eyeborn.
Oh,
not
God.
racist, just don't like him.
Just don't like.
That's the it's great.
The highborn way.
Navarre, Navarre FC. But yeah, like OC wise,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about starting again, new beginnings. You've gone for the grief phase. You've got a new character. You seem, from what you've said so far, clued up on what you'd like to start doing again. Like you've got a good idea of what fun is.
It's been slowly crystallizing. Yeah, I mean, there's still elements that I'm like, I did what everyone does. I had about 1,000 ideas at the beginning, but I left space for myself, and I was like, I'm gonna come back as Navarre, so I don't have to change any kit or anything. I'm definitely gonna do that. I've so many lovely people like, oh, you could join this, you could join that, and I was like, that's a really great idea, but it's not for now. And again, the same as the military council thing. I'm not done with Navarre yet. I haven't done that. I haven't done the things that I want to. But then other things, I had 1,000 ideas, so I was like, I'm just gonna see what happens at E2 and then decide.
Yeah,
basically
can confirm from many semi-impactful character deaths that you can't pick a plan that will stick. The other Chris, the other bald Chris Melvin Clay. We saw when he lost Blackthorns after the event. There was like, I think literally 500 ideas that we saw on Discord.
Something like that.
A lot.
It's hard when you
really
stop,
hard,
drop something unexpectedly. You just haven't even thought about.
You got so much energy, and it
just
goes, "Woo! I'm a free radical. Off I go."
Guess I could do this thing, maybe, or do that thing.
I could. There's lots of I coulds, but very few I wills. And anyway, he's settled down. He's got a new role. He's happy, but it takes, it's taken a bit of time. But anyway,
it takes the time, yeah.
Ignoring character-wise, what are you excited for the next year of Empire and having a fresh character for it? And this is why I mention Jotun, Druge, Grendel, because you said at the start you haven't fought Grendel at all as Larkin. That peace treaty is nearly up. The Jotun kind of it feels like they're on the back foot. They've been murderized in the north, but in the south they're giving a counterpunch, and the Druge are looking a bit ropey. Let alone
spoilers, man. Spoilers. Oh my god, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I know from being a general, and I have had the privilege of hearing stuff since then. I'm still not involved, but privy to some conversations that are going on
in a group chat.
I am lurking.
You are
hashtag lurking. Just because it's something I'm still very interested in, and I will say this straight away now here live, confirmed canon. Quote me. I do intend to be back in the military council tent at some point. It's just a matter of timeline and doing it in a way that I can justify and that feels right.
Yeah, you got to earn it.
But I just can't imagine, as Matty, I can't imagine that I wouldn't, I'm not going to suddenly change my mind and not want it. I only got a few events in that tent and I loved it and I want more.
I am addicted.
I want more. Genuinely.
But yeah.
Jotun, Druge, and Grendel.
Yeah.
What do I think of them?
Well, yeah, the Grendel, the Jotun are a bit vanilla. They're heavy infantry. They don't like dicking around.
Although I will say I love the I don't know if it's even vibes or if it's just lore. The added layer of the fact that they hate the Navarre specifically. That we as a nation have a different relationship with them on the field is so interesting to me. Like, I like that. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just the usual, oh, it's the Druge, you fight them this way. It's like, oh, it's the Jotun, well, Navarre are going to do this, and they're going to do this to Navarre. So we can't have the same rules, which is, oh, it's fascinating.
Mm.
It's good fun. Druge,
Druge are great.
they're Druge, you know.
Yeah, Druge are great. The
Hard fuckers to fight, but there you go. They're good fun.
yeah, the Grendel are going to be really interesting because they have all of the like the monsters, all of let's call them
Oh
let's
yeah,
call them
Landshark.
medium-sized monster suits. So like Mr.
Yeah,
Pinchy will
because they've
turn up.
got all of the
Siaka Heralds.
Siaka stuff.
Yeah.
Everything that Siaka sends with them
And
might
they
come
also
out
have
of
war
the.
rhinos, and it'd be lovely to see those big assets come on the battlefield again
Well,
because
that's what I'm saying. The
we haven't
land
seen
shark.
them.
That's actually a land shark. It's not a water rhino, I
Is it?
believe.
No, I think the
Yeah,
land
because it's a
sharks are
Siaka thing.
I thought the Siaka heralds were like the shark-looking individual
Yeah, but
humans.
they're heralds. There's also the
Yeah.
land shark, which I think
I
was
swear
the
down it's
things.
a war. Admittedly, it was
I've
a
heard both.
war rhino pre-COVID. We've
Yes,
had
I
none of
have
it
heard
post.
both. So it's very possible that they use the same thing for two different things, and that's where the
Yeah,
confusion has come
things
from.
like drakes. We haven't seen drakes in fucking ages.
God, yes,
Yep.
drakes.
Marsh
There's so
walkers have been
many
a little bit rarer.
monsters and things that I haven't fought.
Yeah. Plague wolves. We had one at E1 or maybe E4, but otherwise we haven't had one of those in like 3 years.
Yeah, skirmishes and stuff. That's what I am looking forward to.
Mm.
I will say. I think this is something I've said. That is one area that you heard it here first, folks. I am very interested in is the skirmish organization because that's got a massive gap now with Matt Quinn died. And that's something that very specifically in my new character I can justify and do a lot of, which would also in the very short immediate term satisfy a lot of the same kind of skills that I was using for Larkin. And build up in the right way, and then from there I could see what I was going to end up doing alongside other stuff. So yeah.
What do you think about the Thule? Because even I've not fought them at any point.
Nah, we're not gonna fight them though.
Oh, but they've got like actual battlefield mages. Can you imagine?
So do the Druge.
I know, but like the Druge have got like poisons and venomy stuff and healing, but the Thule would show up with like 10 mass repels, 10 mass.
I would
weaknesses.
love. You know what? Something I would love is I would love for one day for us to be able to take the field with some of those allies, like the Great Forest Orcs, or the Thule, or even like if we got in some crazy world, like half of the Grendel were suddenly on our side. If there was some way of doing. I don't know, a 3/4, 1/4 fight, or 2/3, 1/3 fight, or something, and then having some of the crew on one side. I don't know how you do it, but it would be really fun to be able to fight alongside our allies.
Yeah, maybe on a Sunday or something when they're running out of.
Yeah, even if there wasn't that many of them, maybe for a skirmish or something.
I think there's been a couple
of
skirmishes where they appear.
Like yeah, but never like on our side kind of things. We're not.
They're third party, unfortunately.
But like, say you had like, oh, we have to have 30 people go through, but you're going to be accompanied by 15 Thule, and then fight. Like they've got the crew numbers, I believe, for that kind of fight because they do 60 on 60. But yeah, so it's something like that would be really fun to be cool. On the side of, and also imagine if we one day, like, because we work with heralds and things, I mean. The Quiet Step army thing literally like invokes our halogen and puts like war beasts alongside you, like spooky things. So like that would be a fun thing to start to incorporate into battles. Would be to have. Yeah.
It's a shame we haven't seen many
couple of
this
crews
year,
do that.
And I think the sooner we get away from the Jotun fights, the more likely those are to be.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is the war fronts that we have consolidated into two. We've got versus Jerusalem versus Jotun, and that is the two things. And because of it makes it easier in terms of splitting the choices between Saturday and Sunday, which also is because of face masks and things. It's COVID stuff. Still holdover.
Yeah,
and which is just
I get it. I get why
hygiene.
PD's being careful with them, but it's been.
Yeah.
I guess.
And you have to have the
general,
Yagara, which is what makes it easier, basically.
Yeah.
Because you can just have loads of Yagara running around because there's no Yagara on the east.
It's worked out a lot better than I thought it would. Because one unique
thing
about
Yagara
Empire
great.
was orcs were the enemy, humans were not. And then
Yeah,
there was one Black
it
Plateau
was really
battle
confusing.
where it was Imperial on Imperial, and that's when Cuthwin died. That's when Pieface died.
Yes, because
And
we
that's
couldn't quite
why,
tell who was
yeah,
who was good and who wasn't, and that was kind of part of the
part of
that
the
was
charm.
part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with the Yagara, it's
Mm.
because there's clear battle lines and units. They're actually not bad. They're actually quite fun to fight against.
Yeah, it makes it not feel like a Jotun fight because the Yagara fight more like Drush
Yeah,
than they fight
true.
like
More
Jotun.
mobile.
Which makes it slightly harder to like predict because you're like, okay, well, we're fighting the Jotun. No, we're not. I mean, in terms of lore, the Yagara should fight like the Jotun, but you put a bunch of larpers in like light cloth and tell them to be fanatically Jotun, they're probably going to start running screaming at you more like Drush.
Yeah.
That's just life. You can't control that. So that's something I think we've been learning to adapt to.
Nice.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. I'm trying to think who else we even. I mean, the Valorn. We haven't really had
Yeah.
much Valorn at all.
Well, there's a whole. Well,
Yeah,
we are going to be
we had some
countering the
good
Valorn in the
fights.
next couple of years of
Wow,
Empire
yeah.
events,
We'll
and you're going to be a fresh
see.
character going into that.
We'll see what happens, eh? God, it's
Hey,
going to
we
be
will.
fun.
It's going to be fun.
And you and I, no, you as well. Are you going to be timing in and Lithic the Athavan?
No, so actually, yeah, this is cool. So I was going to ask before we
Yeah,
jump
hot,
onto
hot off
that
the press.
spicy note,
Okay, okay.
the Mark Larks section, but we'll leave that for the end now because you've got me excited.
Ah.
So do you want to give the TLDR?
Oh, no. I'll mark Larks. I'll finish off Larkin.
Oh, I don't know if
Ooh,
the Orcs did
ironic.
that, but I guess it's nice to take
You'll never
ownership.
know who struck the final blow.
Well, not yet.
Lol. Yeah. What are we doing it in? RP, I was hitting a 9. I think I still could have got to 10. Like I said, there were roleplay moments that I think I could have done better, but I was really up there. I was, impressing myself really with how comfortable I felt with it all by the end.
Yeah. Did you spend
What have you got on the list?
of 90% of the weekend talking about LARP things as opposed sorry, Empire things as talking about
I mean, in terms
phone
of being
charges?
immersed, 11 out of 10, 12 out of
Nice.
10,
Excellent.
100,000 out of 10. This is what I mean. That side of the game is very immersive. It's around a lot of players who are very in character all the time. And that's in a very real way. It's not in a, I'm playing a character and I'm being dramatic. It's just conversations that you have, but they're all in character all the time. It does help that most of those people I met IC, and I hadn't really spoken to OC that much. Like maybe on Facebook a little bit, but I hadn't really had chats, so there was not that kind of instinct to drop out of character. But even so, yeah, I was all the way in all the time, and it was amazing. It was fantastic.
Nice.
No regrets.
Next up is soft kit.
I mean, I can only do this for the final.
Yeah, we're talking about at the end.
For E1 event, I was in my best kit ever. I had my best camping set up ever. So the camping, obviously, I can keep. That's good.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, my kit was amazing. The only thing I was missing, I'm kind of mixing combat and soft because there's not really anything specific. The only thing I was missing was I really still wanted to get my spear commissioned. But luckily I didn't get that done just before I died. But yeah, everything else was great. I was really happy with that top that I found, which made a really great base layer. All the pictures that I had from the Printers Guild Ball demonstrate like the combo of colors and layers that I had. I really loved the hair that I had. I am genuinely quite sad that I got that before Larkin died. So I can't, I mean, I can use it for a new character, but it's a little bit very Larkin.
Yeah.
It is, but it's very Larkin. Like I mean, it's really good. It was so easy to do. Kept it out of the way. It looked profesh, like a proper like character look. But it was so easy, and it didn't matter if my hair was a bit greasy. It was great. I had no regrets. My tattoos are amazing. I rebranded a bunch of them. The scars. I was just like, my layers. I just felt good. I felt fucking cool. I felt amazing. You know.
And the
I
combat
loved
kit
it. I was
as well.
so happy. Yeah, especially that last time. Having the general sash was such a nice layer to add onto things. And I was so proud of it that I was like, of course Larkin would wear this. I'm not going to keep it subtle. Of course I'm going to show it off. It's amazing. So yeah, I was like, okay, I'm going to wear it on top. I'm going to show it off. I'm going to put it over the tabard and give it the tabard over the chain. I put the chain over the top that I had so you can see the sleeves underneath. I had new braces, which were plainer but nice. I had my necklace things. I felt good.
Mm.
The
Oh,
only thing I didn't have is what I do have now, which are my nice new boots, which were a
indeed,
great
yes.
excuse to buy them for my new character.
Yeah.
So
well,
yeah, top notch. Very happy.
notch.
Very very easy to quickly run to the loo in. That
Nice.
was honestly a priority when I was coming up with a lot of my character stuff. Because I always need a quick wee before a battle and stuff.
Yeah, you get the adrenaline going. Oh, you hear some of the orc
Yeah.
horror stories.
I always
of, like,
forget.
You
I
hear them
forget that
screaming.
I drunk loads
the
of
porta
water,
potty.
and then I'm suddenly like, shit, I need a toilet. Gotta run. Sorry. Yeah. I'm not running away from battle, I promise. I just need to leave.
Yeah. So overall, rate Larkin as a character, as a hero of the Empire. How did she do?
How can I rate someone who I was just so endlessly overjoyed to be? How can I rate that? You rate Larkin.
10. You had a good time.
Yeah.
We had a good time, even if we did bully you, but that's part of a good time. Other people had a good
That was a
time,
nice thing.
and you mattered. You mattered.
Yeah.
That's a success. Heroes die
Yeah.
and create legends. People who survive just become, they have, what is it? You die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. You died a hero,
Yeah.
and that's a good
Narratively,
way
it
to end
worked, and that made me happy, and it made people feel something, which made it feel worth it. Actually, that's I kind of didn't finish it earlier, but what I was saying about going back to work afterwards, like going for hugs in the military council was great. Because as soon as I got back to work, it was like it didn't mean anything, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, your character's died. Okay, oh, that sucks. It's like you saying, oh, well, this character died in a TV show. This doesn't mean anything. And I was like, this has changed the trajectory of my life. Like this character and now this death. And it just doesn't mean anything. So yeah, when you say it mattered, like, and she mattered, that's the thing that's worth it.
Absolutely.
That's what took a lot of time getting over. But that's also, knowing that you guys are planning to hopefully whispers me back for one last 10-minute window.
One last hurrah. It's night. Again, watching, Matteo Free Wolf Edge Store. I can't remember what the full title set was.
Yeah.
But watching, him get scammed, paying off Band's debt when it'd already been paid. Watching, Tapple get cursed and having to deal with that. All the political
God, getting engaged to fucking Tadpole.
Yeah.
It was a thing that happened.
I
got some amazing testimonies as well. So she's gone into the labyrinth with some great testimonies on her soul.
Nice. And speaking of perhaps endangering yourself, perhaps going straight back into that Leatherton thing. Yeah,
Shall I try and die 2 events in a row in Leatherton?
Speed run. You just die at time in.
No one let Matty go icy to Leatherton, she will die. Yeah, time in a Leatherton. So we just found out that any character who was involved in the going on the spy network in Leatherton can time in behind enemy lines in a skirmish. And I did. Now, I don't know exactly how this works. I'm going to ask you because I made a character on a whim at the end of the last event because it's just a good idea to just kind of make it already. It's easier.
You're in shock. So sitting on the bench of a computer feels very homely. But yeah,
and you don't have to have the new character to play it like for the rest of the event, but I did make one. And I had a military unit, which I sent to Leatherton for downtime with the spy network.
Yep.
Because I was like, I've got this. I guess I'm going to do that. Now, since then, obviously, I have not completely, but I've changed, like, reoriented my character and come up with the ideas that I really want. And I've changed my resource to a congregation. Now, I'm on the Imperial Roll of Honor as supporting the spy network.
Cool, but it counts.
I had a military unit at the time, but I now have a congregation. But does that come, like, do I count or not count for this?
So, because you messaged in and asked to change your MU to a congregation.
To a congregation, yes. And I was allowed to do that without charge because it was a new character.
Yeah, because it's always a faff on the final day. I think,
But obviously, I didn't send that message until like last week because I
yeah,
hadn't
because you
really
didn't
decided
know.
until last week.
So if I was going to be a really boring little bitch, I would say you've shifted to congregation, you've retconned the fact you were in the Atherton. But that's boring
Except
and
I
shitty.
haven't,
That's boring and
because for
shitty.
the Imperial Roll of Honor and for the numbers of downtime, I had a military unit.
Yeah,
So the
but
only
I'm
thing
talking
that
about intention.
technically doesn't work, well, but I mean, still, arguably, the only thing that flavor wise doesn't work is at what point then did I leave the military unit and get the congregation? Because arguably, if it wasn't for this timing in skirmish thing, then it's very easy to say, well, after I came back from the spy network, I traded my military unit in for a congregation before I got to
Yeah,
Anvil.
because what's the
Like, that's
because
justifiable. But the
that's
skirmish makes
how
things a bit confusing.
the way I think of it in my head is that things that happen in downtime there you can't do two because they both take 3 months to do. So let's say your military
Mm-hmm.
unit going to the Atherton, infiltrating, gathering reports, and leaving took three
Mm-hmm.
months. Same with a congregation.
Yeah. No, but
Gather people, speak,
you
and
don't have
preach.
downtime for a congregation.
No,
You
no,
don't have a
but to hear me
downtime
out, you've
action.
got, you spend to keep that congregation, you've got to spend, your downtime congregating with them, right? You don't have time to be both a military badass and a
That's true.
congregationeer.
But then, as we've also
But
discovered,
this is
people
this
can
is
have an
below the abstraction.
artisan
Yeah, it's below the
and
abstraction
one of
layer.
those other things.
Yeah, so my point is, like, I'm sure there'll be some people out there who are like, ugh, you've changed your mind because there's an opportunity. But also, going back to my point earlier around you pay a ticket to play a game, I would just retcon the retcon, save you got a military unit, go and do the skirmish because that sounds wicked, and then you've got a character goal at the start of E2 of crap, I need to go and get my congregation sorted out after my unit got fucking
I
mullered
can't. I
in the
can't retcon
Atherton.
the retcon at this point mechanically, though.
Um, you could no, just
I'm
write
not.
to
I'm not going
PD.
to bother with
Just write
that.
to PD
That's too
and say
difficult. They're taking no offense to them. They're doing a fantastic job and they're very busy, but they're taking days to reply to messages at this
we've got
point.
days until the event. I would personally do it if I was you.
I don't want to though because I want the congregation. So what I really need to do really is email them and say
Yeah, I
I'd be
would.
interested in doing this. What's the sitch?
Yeah, I think you have to pick one or the other. And if I
But
was in
I
your
okay.
shoes,
So my quibble with what you're saying though is that downtime is different from your resource. Downtime is something you can do with certain resources. The things that resources generate are done regardless. Your forest is done regardless. Your mine is done regardless. Your congregation is done regardless. Because any of those things you can do alongside, like being an artisan, which would require crafting for 3 months, right? Because that's a downtime activity. You have to
okay,
do that. And if you're a military unit, you have to pick the military unit thing and do that for 3 months. But you can have an artisan and be a farm owner. You don't have to spend 3 months doing the farm and 3 months making the artisan items. Do you see what I mean?
yeah,
The
because
downtime thing
you've
is the
got
thing that you
skills
have to spend
versus
time doing,
resource.
which would be the military unit. Like I would have to spend 3 months doing the spy network, but that doesn't mean I couldn't also have a congregation. Also, yeah, it's only because like arguably I could have like got a congregation the day before Anvil. It's just because we're timing in that it gets a bit like, well, maybe I sent my military unit away last week, or I converted them all into my congregation and they're stuck behind lines with me, you know? I can think of justifications for it, but it
It's
sounds like the fact that we disagree means that it's probably sticky enough that I should probably just send an email,
I don't know, like
which you
you're
have to do to time in
comparing.
anyway.
Yeah, you're comparing resources to skills, but this is all below the abstraction layer. And like, if I
Now
was in your boots,
I'm comparing resources to downtime actions, which
yeah,
are
but
two different
downtime.
things.
Well, there's the artisan like comes from a skill, but I think
Yeah,
the
but it's
fact
the
you've got a
downtime action that
skirmish, you've
generates.
literally got a skirmish here. I would,
Yeah,
if I was in your shoes, I'd 100% take that. And then if the
yeah.
penalty is it takes me an event to get my congregation, I just
I
I
see
go
what
and
you
earn
mean. Like
two
if they say
crowns.
you can do it, but you can't have the congregation.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think that's why I was saying
Right,
like you
I
have a
see.
character, quest. Like Christ, you land in Anvil, you survive, your military unit's been absolutely shagged on the on the
I
background, right?
understand. No, okay, I get it. I think I was thought you meant you would say email in and say hi, can I change my congregation back to a military unit, and then email in and say hey, I've got a military unit, can I be on the skirmish?
I mean, I would if I was
As
going to be a
opposed to
stickler, I
emailing
would
in
do
to
that.
say hey, can I be on the skirmish? This is the situation. Like, is it possible? Because you have to email to be on the skirmish anyway.
Yeah, I think like it's LARP, right? It's like paintball or airsoft. It's an honesty-based game. As long as you're not abusing
Yeah.
the fact you've had an MU and the access to a
From
congregation,
it, apart
then
from
I
the
think you do
opportunity
too.
to die.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you
It's a
just get
spy
yourself
network. It wasn't
killed,
Guerdon. I'm not getting money or anything.
yeah, I would say, if I was gonna do it without, emailing PD and bothering them with it, I would
No, but
go on the skirmish
well,
just
you
to.
can't without emailing. You have to email them if you
Okay,
want
well,
to go on
yeah,
the
I'd
skirmish.
em
That's what I'm
oh,
saying.
great. In which case, just ask for
Yeah,
clarification. And PD are a
yeah,
fun
exactly.
company; they'll let you do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
get on the skirmish, definitely do that. And then when you get back to Anvil, find a way to make your character suffer and earn the new, the change. It's
If I
like the two
survive,
crowns or something. Yeah,
if I
yeah.
make it.
Yeah, just drop off 2 crowns at God or something. Just take a penalty. Take a penalty. Just play fair.
Yeah,
You're good to go. Because
yeah.
it's hard to get on skirmishes now. It's hard.
It's true, and to time in behind enemy lines sounds
That is
incredible.
very
I
rare.
wish that I was Larkin for it because fuck me, I'm gonna have no armor. I'm never gonna have fought as a battle mage before with the people that I don't know. Like this is gonna be, it's a suicide mission for me for my new character. I'm excited.
Yeah.
If I die, I reroll. No one knew the character anyway. It's just going to be different names and stats. I mean, it's as easy as that. If I die on the first mission, then you just come back as yourself. No one will have met me yet. It's fine. We can deal with that.
But yeah, I think to round it up, do it.
Do
Do
it.
the thing. Definitely get on that because that's cool.
Do the thing. Sounds good. Yeah, I really want to. It sounds fun. Also, if I was going to try any time to like get back on the horse and test out battle maging for the first ever event, then why not? Why not now?
Yeah. Cool.
Which
All right
means I
then.
need to make some mage armor. Gotta
Indeedy.
figure that out.
Indeedy. All right, we're running at an hour and 36, nearly an hour and 40. Long
Oh,
one.
we've covered most of the life and times of Larkin Shattersong.
We have indeed, and the potentially very short and messy, bloody life of your
The
next
next one.
character. Yeah, come back at E2 and like, so how is your fifth, sixth, seventh character?
What
Yeah,
character you on now?
yeah,
Don't worry. Yeah, imagine. That would be very funny. I
that would
would
be.
laugh quite a lot. Yeah. Thanks for letting me ramble about my character for a while.
No worries. I'll
It's
thank the
always
people at home listening
interesting.
in. Do you have any final parting words of wisdom for people who've lost characters, or for people who are going to start a new beginning?
For people who've lost characters, thank you. You make the game more. For people who are starting a new beginning, God, it's scary, isn't it? Isn't it scary? Isn't it terrifying? Also, it's 6 weeks too long somehow. I kind of wanted to just turn around and start again straight away. Too long and yet not enough time equally.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
because we've only got
that's
like
it.
a week until. Well, a
Yeah.
week until I travel up, and yeah, it's yeah.
Yep. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I guess trust your gut on what you actually like doing.
Yeah.
Because I could easily have, like you said, gone, okay, I'm just going to try something completely random, which is what I did when I made Taran. But now I know what I like, and it's military stuff, and I just have to figure out a different way in. And that might end up being a similar way in. But for the first event, at least, I'm going to just, yeah, don't make any promises to yourself for your first event after you died. It's
Fantastic.
tough.
All right then. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Hopefully that's given you something to mull over and think about.
Yeah. Thank you.
And
Thank you especially. You there.
you
That one.
at the
You.
back, the one who's been texting the whole time.
Yeah. I bet you didn't hear a word I said. But thanks anyway.
Not paying attention. They're not going to go anywhere in the
It's all right.
Empire, are they? Ugh.
Relatable.
All right then. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Catch you at E2. Not long to go now. I will be doing some Winds of War and Fortune analysis over the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and record one for the ELA, for the Empire Lab audio team.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Until we meet you face to face. Stay safe and enjoy the pre-event panic.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.